All right, well, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin,
I'm Tarsha.
and this is, of course, Conversations with the Crawleys, where we have conversations about faith, family relationships, and recaps, reviews, and commentary on some of our favorite TV shows. This one is all about Married at First Sight, season 14. I've lost track of which episode this is, but this is definitely has nothing to do with Basic Girl. So if this is content that you enjoy, make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button, hit the like, request notifications.
And share.
All right. And we will, of course, see you in the comments. Uh, Tarsha left me. She left me to go visit our daughter, who you also see hanging out there. So she's just out of town. You know, we sometimes will be out of town, in and out of town. So this is one of those times, and we figured, hey, we needed to do a recap. We didn't do last week. We'll kind of explain that. But we want to do it. And we said, look, we're going to come live. So that's, again, another reason why you want to hit that notifications, because then you'll be notified when we go live like this. All right. So we're going to jump into this whole conversation. That's our daughter, Caricia. Wave to the people, Caricia.
Oh, it's flipped.
It's flipped.
That is our firstborn, and so we definitely appreciate her, value her, and she's approaching her Jordan year birthday, so shout out to you for that as well. All right, so you want to jump into this, babe?
Let's go for it. Let's
All right.
handle this.
Let's. So we have to apologize. Last week was just a crazy week. Some of you noticed that I was on Little Black Book, so shout out to Little Black Book for having me on for his recap. But by the time I got done with that, and then everything we had going on the weekend, we didn't get a recap, so we didn't get a chance to talk about the big blow up that Lindsay had in the bathroom, where she just ripped Mark apart.
It made no sense.
Yeah, it was.
You can't take back. Once you say something, you can't take it back. And
Yeah.
he heard most of it because she was loud. It wasn't like she was like, okay, since you're
Yeah.
here, producer, I'm going to share all the feelings I have and do this dump. She was just rude. It was just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
There's nothing quiet about Lindsay. She's a Karen part 2 of this show. She is. All right, so enough's been said about that. We'll kind of pick up with this week, and just kind of jump in. Let's start with, let's go with Jasmina and Michael. Let's start with them.
Okay.
So, we are doing this live, so my notes are kind of taking a little while. All right, so they do start off with kind of a picnic in the park, which was pretty cool. He was, and he got a gift for her dog, I should say. He got a gift for her dog. And at first she was like, oh, he got me a gift, so cute. Oh, it's for the dog. But she's like, okay, she recognized the value that because the dog is so important to her. Right?
Right?
Oh, I didn't know the question. Right.
Okay.
I thought you was going to add to
You're
that.
agreeing.
Right.
Okay. So yes, he did some nice gifts for the dog, right? Because we know how much the dog meant to her. The dog was not feeling it at first. That dog was like, I ain't putting my paw nowhere near your hand. I'm not feeling you.
Well, we were kind of talking about it. We're like, okay, so you set up this gift, and automatically she's like, I know this is for me. And there's something in here for the dog, but the rest is for me. So she had to kind of really like, okay, change and find the positive.
She had backtracked.
Mhm.
She had to backtrack a lot.
Yeah.
And so, but when he's trying to approach her, like, okay, this is a good time to say, hey, this is why I'm doing this. I want to
Right.
show you that you love your dog. I want your dog to love me. And then he tries to talk about their communication status.
Yes. And so, go ahead.
And that's when we were like, I was confused. And then Carisi was
I
like,
was confused
right. Because what were you saying about what she was trying to communicate?
because she was basically just being very general of, I need you to communicate better with me. He goes, because he broached the question first. He said, how can I communicate better when we're
Right.
having these issues? So he's the one who brought it up. And she goes, well, you cannot take a tone and not get loud. Okay, understand that. You could also not take a tone, but what else can I do? you could just, I don't know how I have to explain it to you. It's basic. What's basic? I'm asking you
Right.
what the basic part is. So she was trying to communicate because she just sees it as like, it's very easy. It's not easy when you're a totally separate person who communicates. Like he brought up, he was like, you communicate in a different style than I do. I'm trying to understand that. That didn't seem to penetrate her listening skills at all.
Yeah, she first of all, we have to understand communication is the sum of your experiences from birth. You learn how to communicate from the moment you come out of the womb, pretty much. And so he's saying, I don't have the communication skills that you think I should have. So how can I develop that with you? He's at least putting his foot forward and saying, okay, I need to get a better understanding of how you want us to communicate. And in him even trying to do that, she's like, you're taking a tone with me. So then it's like, now I'm looking at it and saying, okay, if that's a tone, then what other conversations has he been having like this that you accuse him of having a tone? Because I don't hear a tone in that. I hear, I need help. Help me. Help a brother. Help me talk.
Help you. Like he's
Help.
like, this is my passion. He's like, I'm just passionate about, like, I'm trying to get something out of you. But see, this is the problem. People who says, I need you to communicate better, can't communicate what they need in communication.
Right.
So she's like, this is basic. Like, hold on. You're trying to tell me communication is basic, but we're having an issue. And you can't even tell me what that is. So I'm just like, first of all, you need to slow down and understand what he's trying to get across. It's like, I need something specific and you're not giving to me. Because even in the after party, she was looking at it like, oh, that sounds stupid, pretty much.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's like, I think that neither one of them are perfect, right? They're both growing as a couple. But I think that he's at least trying to say, how can I communicate better with you? She is looking for reasons why he doesn't communicate well, or looking for reasons why it's not going to work. I think in some respects, she's checked out in some respects, and that she's not at least being open to helping him grow in his communication. She wants him to come ready-made, being able to talk to her.
And I also think she just needs to understand, like, going back to the tone thing, is that people can be upset with you and portray that in their voice. And that's kind of hard when you're having a direct conversation. If you're upset with somebody else, I'm sorry, I'm not thinking about my tone in that moment because I'm upset with you.
Right.
And so taking that moment to pause, because you can say, pause, you can't talk to me like that.
Right.
But there is moments where it is okay, because I'm not expressing my upset with you. I'm saying with the situation, that's why I'm frustrated. That's why I sound like this. So instead of her like letting him, because she was like, you sound annoyed right now. He's like, I'm allowed to be annoyed.
Right.
Because you're just giving me vague statements.
Right.
And so there's going to be a time where he's going to be annoyed and he's going to have a tone. She's just going to have to come to terms with, sometimes there's a tone, but it's not directed at you. It's just me expressing how frustrated I am.
Right.
I mean, let's just be honest. In 25 years of marriage, Tarsha, we have had times where we have had what we call intense fellowships, where I may get a little upset, you get a little upset, and we chalk it up to the game. We do recognize that, yes, we want to watch our words to make sure we're not saying anything that we can't take back.
Right.
But sometimes our tone has gotten elevated, and it doesn't mean that we can't we can't get past that. We just recognize, okay, we have to take a time to say, okay, let's circle back around. Let's take a breather. Let's circle back around, and then we can have a conversation about it. But in the moment, if I'm feeling upset, I'm upset, and you might have to at least take my being upset for a moment.
Right. And then, like, saying it's okay. Like, okay, you're upset. Like, when you get ready, go ahead and say what you need to say, because let's go ahead and get it out.
Yeah.
And then what we've learned from even our premarital counseling, like, what I hear you saying is this.
Exactly.
Because even though we can communicate, if I'm not understanding what you're saying, like, I'm taking it in, but I'm interpreting it from what my childhood, what I experienced, it may not be exactly what you mean. So I think if they find ways to find other resources instead of really depending on each other to figure, like, how to do it, because she can't explain it, then that's when you need to read or to have someone help you or navigate that situation. So
Yeah. And they do have a moment where they do have a breakthrough moment, if you will, um, where they start going through this thing, and he basically starts talking about his, because this is the anniversary day of his brother passing, and so he went to the grave. She does say that she wishes that he would have told her, and that he appreciates her as far as, or she appreciates him opening up. And then a little later, they do have where she kind of creates this home gym for
mhm.
her fake physical trainer, personal trainer
Like
job
a
that she wants to
non-personal
have,
trait.
her
Right.
non-personal training. Her, and but it was a, it took something that he enjoyed, something that he's passionate about, if you will, and kind of she turned it to say, okay, let's work on maybe some communication exercises. I didn't see the communication exercises until the last one, where they did at least start to talk, and he really got emotional and vulnerable as he talked about the trauma that he's had as far as all of the people that he's lost, right?
Right. And
He lost a lot of people.
Chris
Yeah.
is bringing out like, did she had to go through every
Yeah, because
person?
she could have said, I understand that you lost your family. She said, so you lost your grandma. He goes, mm-hmm. You lost your mom. Mm-hmm. You lost your dad. Mm-hmm. Your brother. Mm-hmm. I was like,
I was like,
let's condense it.
right.
Yeah.
It's a lot. That's a lot of loss at one
Yeah.
time. And I
And for
was
those
glad
that are, go ahead, I'm sorry.
he was open up because I thought it was a natural passing for the brother. Maybe he was sick or ill,
Right.
but literally right in front of their house became a murder scene. I was like, oh my
Right.
God, so traumatic to him. I
Yeah.
was like, that's
And at an
crazy.
early age, I think he was 6 at the time.
6 or 7, and
Yeah.
seeing his brother dead, I was
I think
like,
it was his dad that died that way.
was it the dad or the brother? I think it was the
No, it was
brother.
the brother. It was the brother,
Oh,
because
Yeah,
the brother was the one that would be out until
at
3
3
o'clock
a.m.
working. Yeah. So, and real quick, for those that are just joining this live and are part of the KT squad, just to the person that you're seeing there, you see myself, you see Tarsha, that is our daughter, Creasia, our firstborn. What?
I said I'm the production.
of the
She,
unit.
Of
she,
the
she,
unit.
Unit. Of the unit.
she is
So
the fruit of our
far.
loins.
This.
That's what it is.
All right, so they do at least have a breakthrough moment, and it's, again, the thing I like about Jasmina and Michael is the potential of what could be. I don't think that they will, but you see the potential if they get out of each other's way and get
Right.
out of their own way.
Right.
All right, it's kind of the way I look at it. All right, so that's them. Let's talk about Steve and Noe, or as some have started to call him, Steve No Jobs. All right, so
We calling him
uh,
Steve No Job.
Steve No Jobs.
Wow. The man works
I,
freelance. Let him, he's bringing
listen,
in money. Look, as long as that
you,
savings account is paying bills, I don't care.
y'all know I'm on the side of Steve. I think Steve's got money set aside.
I think Steve
I
got bank. He got some Bitcoin
Now I'm
somewhere.
not I'm not saying he multimillionaire. I'm not saying he balling like that, but I'm saying he's
Right.
comfortable enough where he's not pressed about income, right? That he possibly has some passive income or some other things going on, investments that are working on his behalf, where he's like, look, while I figure out kind of my next step, I can take a break, right?
I
So
just don't do it around me. Like, don't be up in bed with the Kool-Aid and the potato chips while
yeah,
I'm sitting out in the living room at a laptop. Like, go do
yeah,
something during the day.
yeah,
Hobby.
Get a hobby.
something that takes you outside the house while I'm working, right?
Right. While I'm working.
All right, so Noy sends Steve on a treasure hunt. So he goes to the park, and she sends little love notes and what have you to kind of give him clues. Now, of course, when we're watching it, it seems like Steve is picking up on clues pretty quickly. But in the after party, Noy said that it took him like 2 hours
two
to get around.
hours. 2 hours.
And she even underlined the word tree, so I hope that wasn't one of them. Cause Some of them just seem very straightforward.
Very
Okay.
straightforward. Oh my, and I'm
So
thinking, hold on, but he's into tech. I'm thinking like he's a nerdy guy. I'm like, he's gonna get these like picking up on these real quick. And thank God for production and like we ain't gonna drag this out for you. But they should
right,
have put like 3 hours later.
right.
Skinny bottom.
They didn't even throw any shade. They were just like, okay, we got more than enough tape to cut this up
Okay.
and make this in what 15 seconds.
So, they do finally meet up, the next day on the park bench and just kind of have a good conversation as far as, where they are, where they're going. They do get homework from the experts. And so that sparks the conversation of, have you been in love before?
Right.
Well, because we know Noi falls in love very quickly, like day 3 of the honeymoon, she was like, I think I love you. And he was like,
Okay.
sounds good.
I said,
Appreciate
okay.
it.
Thanks for letting me know.
Gotcha.
I'll take note of it.
Thumbs up next time.
But she says she's been in love once. He says, multiple times. Probably about 4 or 5 times. I've been in love before.
Right. I didn't like, hold on. I didn't understand that because she was saying at the beginning that she falls in love easy, especially for guys that are international. So I was
Right.
surprised she said once and he says 5 times. I'm like, hold on. That was weird.
But was he the one? I think he was the one who was like, yeah, in high school, and then here. So it was like, Steve might just, again, it also brings up the conversation of what do you define love as, right? Because for some people, love is a strong, intense like. For others, there is a stronger, more what we call love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of where Steve's definition falls and where her definition falls. That could, if we're talking about comparing those numbers, could change those numbers a little if we use each of their standards on what they call love, right? So, and then she gets into the conversation and they ask about how they know each other's in love, and he's like, when I feel comfortable expressing it. And so she's like, well, aren't you comfortable yet? We've been together for 8 days. I mean, are you still not comfortable? So
After I said it.
right. And he's like, no, we're getting closer though. She's like, well, I'm already there. What do you mean we? He's like, we, you and I'm involved in this. We're getting closer to the point where I feel a little more comfortable saying it. Still
I
not
think she
there.
should be more specific though, because he said we are included, and I think she was asking about him personally. So
True.
she should have been, how do you feel? Are
Right.
you falling in love, instead of the vague thing that she said?
Right, because he was like, yeah, we. She's like, hold on, but I'm there. Why are you not there? So she's like, why you keep saying we? And he's like, it's we. And I was just like, why you ain't catching a clue? I guess that's why it took you 2 hours to do that treasure hunt.
Okay. So, but it's like, I think that, how some people dig for compliments and dig for affirmations. She gives me the impression that she was digging for a love affirmation from him. She's like digging that I need you to affirm me now that you love me. I can't wait 8 weeks, even though if we were in a relationship where we knew each other and were growing, I don't think she would be as pressed about you need to say you love me in week 3. So I think she's digging for that love affirmation from him. And he at first, as far as first this episode, wasn't ready to give that. Although a little later he did be like, all right, I love you. All right, I'll let you off the hook. I'm feeling you.
He's just gonna leave her hanging in there for a while, until I think, but I think everybody wants it to be that special moment. And I felt for
Right.
him, like if it's gonna be memorable, like if he can remember falling in love 5 times, I think
Right.
again he wanted to make it something memorable so that he
Exactly.
can have his 6th time, hopefully the last time that
Right.
he falls in love.
So yeah, so they have an ocean picnic and everything. And one of the other things that he said is, and her face kind of was like, really? He said, because just because we got married, that's great, but we got to work at it. I think she is in that moment, I don't think that she was recognizing fully what she's engaged as far as this experiment. Just because you're typically, yes, when you're married, you love the person that you're married to, right? You
Right.
have those feelings that have developed. It's working backwards right now. She thinks that because they've gotten married, they should automatically have this love. And he's like, I don't have that at this point when he first said it. But now, of course, he's mentioned that he loves her. So,
I think she's trying to like placebo affect it. She's like, if I tell myself because we got married that we're gonna be in love, that's why I'm gonna say after day 3 I'm in love with you. When she really
right.
Mm.
probably doesn't have those feelings. She's probably trying to kickstart. If I tell myself I'm in love, then I'm in love, and I will continue that love, so we
Yeah.
don't get divorced.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Mm-hmm.
We might have to have you on more often, Creasy.
Yeah.
I said quality content before I came on.
Oh my
All
god.
right. Listen. Okay. So let's dig into. We'll come back to that couple. Well, let's go with Mark and Lindsay.
Oh, you gonna go ahead and tackle Mark and Liz?
We're gonna tackle Mark and Lindsay. We're gonna deal with.
The dinner.
So, listen. I said this early. Lindsay is the progressive Karen. Alyssa, or basic girl, was the conservative Karen. She's the Karen that you know is coming because she got the MAGA hat on. That's how she operates. Lindsay is the progressive Karen who thinks that she's down with everything, and she got Karen tendencies. She probably feels because she's been around people of color that she can get away with stuff. She might be invited to the picnic until you recognize, no, you crazy. So I think I'm gonna call her progressive Karen for the rest of this series. We'll see. All right, but they kind of pick up, and after their explosion her explosion at the bowling alley where she, basically ripped him a new one with the producers, because he basically was like, you need to watch how you talk to people, and we're a team. Let's operate as a team.
Right.
She wants to do this whole, well, I put on a hazmat suit for you. I did all this stuff for you. Let me just say this, and we didn't get a chance because we didn't do a video or recap for that last one. But I have a problem with someone that says that they love a person, but then they have to keep reminding you of everything they've done on your behalf or everything they've done for you. That's not love.
Right.
That's doing things to try and basically appease or what have you, but that's not love. Love doesn't keep a record of wrong. Love doesn't keep a record of what they've done on your behalf. Love just loves.
Right.
So they do have dinner, and she goes into 3-year-old mode. Basically, how's the food? Good. How's your day? Oh,
I worked. I was work. It was fine. I said it wasn't even. I told Mom. I said it wasn't even a question back of how was work for you. She said you.
right.
And Michelle called her Mrs. 1%.
Yeah, listen.
It was a rough dinner because it was just like, obviously that fight was still lingering.
Right.
And she was like, I'm tired of giving everything. If he wants it from me, he's going to have to earn it. And I'm like,
What's he earning?
what is he earning? I mean, like, he asked you not to act out.
Right.
Then you do act out. And then you turn on me at the bowling alley. And then you just some of the things, just don't say it. Even
Right.
if you might be thinking it, don't say it. And so at this point, it's just like, I got to give him kudos for trying, because I'd be like, you know what? We're just going to sit here in silence. I wouldn't have said nothing the whole time.
Because, Tarsha, I would have just sat there and be like, okay.
Yeah. We've done that.
That's where I get the pettiness from, because that's what I thought.
Yes.
I would
Both
be
your
lying.
parents can be petty. Yes. We both can be petty at times.
looking right at each other like,
I text me when you're done, when you're ready.
are you ready?
And I act like I'm going to pick up your plate and I'm going to leave it right there. Yeah. We petty. Yep.
Walk out the room.
So, because
turn the
she's.
light off.
I would turn
Yep. Yep. I will leave the light. Yeah. Oh, you're not gonna turn the TV off? Okay.
Okay.
I leave TV on. Right. Get up in the morning. You right there staring at us. But because he asked her, "Do you not see anything wrong?" She's like, "No, I saw nothing wrong with last night." She calls him a Debbie Downer. Says that he never affirms her, and then tries to paint him like he has this different personality in front of the cameras and not in front of the cameras. And he's like, "Don't do that. Don't do that."
She was like, "You're negative," and I'm like, "But you're the one that's saying negative things about me.
Right.
You're the one that's, supposedly, so you got it all together, and you're helping me, and you're doing all this stuff for me. You know what? I'm drawing back. I'm no longer in this relationship." And then that's when she come up with that number of the 1%. I was like,
Yes.
1%.
He's, and he's in like his homeboy Chris is like, well, I can try and work with that at least still. Like, no, bruh. Because I'm sorry, 1% of Lindsay is still way too much. It's a little too much because she says that he might be out of his league with her. No, I don't think he's out of his league. I think he's just playing a different game than she is.
Right.
I think he's actually in reality. She, I think Lindsay, and I don't know fully her. Well, we know she has a brother, but Lindsay reminds me of those people that I knew growing up, whose parents never told them no, whose parents always gave them everything that they wanted, and taught them that they were just God's gift to the earth. And then when they got out into real world, they believed every piece of that lie.
I was gonna say
So because she got gaslit all of her life, she gaslighting everyone around her.
it sounds like he tried to set a boundary, and she, because she's not used to having boundaries, she's like, okay,
Right.
now you're controlling me. It's like, no, he's putting a stop. He's saying, I cannot take this, so please don't do this because that steps over my line. And she's like, lines? What is that? I don't know what that is.
Boundaries?
What line?
Boundaries.
Every line is mine.
Every line
I
is-
cross them. You don't see them.
So, because even she asks, "What do you like about him? Like, what does he like about her?" And he's like, "You're an incredible, loving person, deep down inside."
Deep.
That was a dig. I will give her that. She said that sounds like a dig. That was a
down.
dig.
It was a dig, but can we be honest? She does a lot more digging than he does. She digs a lot. Like on the after party, they asked, Keisha asked Lindsay, how could you maybe have had that conversation a little differently? Well, I could have talked slower to him. Dig. So she does a lot of digging and a lot of emasculating of him.
Right.
And so, yes, he did come back with a dig that he's like, look, there's somebody down deep inside that might be great for somebody. But right now we got to dig through a lot of crap. There might be a diamond down there, but I don't know if I want to dig 15 feet into the hole to dig that out.
That's his portion.
That's his portion. Anyway.
Right. The collective somebody, by the time you turn 62, might find the diamond that you are. But right now, I'm just going to play my part and dig out for these 8 weeks and see what we can help uncover. So do their homework. And he goes back to his previous relationships and finds that as a way that he thinks that he's in love by going to previous relationships.
Yeah, is he talking about going back and having another relationship with people he's already been with, or he's like investigating, like talking to that person, like, hey, like reminiscing? I didn't understand what he was trying to say.
Chrissy, I don't know if you picked up on it. It was hard for me to get exactly what he was looking at.
She said,
yes, Lindsay does look at Mark like her man child. She even said something where it was like he's a baby and what have you. So she does a lot more, in my opinion, of character assassination, of trying to belittle the person, because she has to feel like she's doing everything right. It goes back to how she feels like, because I did this, because I put on a hazmat suit, and because I helped you with your bed bug situation, because I do all this, I'm a great person. And no, you're not. You're just doing things to help yourself feel like you are. But she feels like she's better by making everyone lower than her.
She feels like she's better for doing the bare minimum.
Right.
That's true.
Because if you're married,
Yeah.
I would expect the person. Because I know I have a bug problem. I know I'm not doing that by myself. So if I'm married,
Right.
you're legally tied to me. You are going to help me with my bed bug. That's your bed bug problem.
Right. It becomes
Right.
our problem together. And so it's now more like I took care of your issues.
Right.
We're married. So I'm just
We
doing
have
what
issues together.
right.
Yeah. So then they go for sushi, and I don't know how, because they're in Boston. So Boston is on the, if I'm correct, Boston is on the ocean, right? So
Right.
Other country.
I get, you may have you have definitely, you're used to crabs and lobster, what have you, but he goes for sushi and has never had sushi. It looks like.
No, he hasn't. This is his first attempt. I'm like, but she starts him off strong. Like she throws him on the deep end of the fish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, for the giri, the sashimi, I said, start them off with a roll.
Get a
Right.
California roll.
Call basics.
Right.
Right.
Brother.
Do the stuff right, like you said. Start them off on the shallow end. Let's start with a crunch roll. Let's start with dragon roll, something like that. Let's do that, and then we can work up to the completely raw fish.
Right. Right. But I mean, when they came out with that boat, I was like, how much is this boat of fish they threw on the table?
I think that's disrespectful to fish.
Put them inside a boat.
That's what I'm saying.
Serve them inside of a boat. Oh my God.
So he does in that dinner again affirm and appreciate her, and I don't. I'm afraid that it's going to become very out of balance by how much he has to feed her ego and feed her feelings, but still gets crap in return, right? Because even at that same dinner, that's where she called him a baby. She's like, she called him her sweet little child, and what have you. So it's like there's an unbalance that's happening, or they're not balanced, right?
Right.
Where he's working firm and say, okay, you do this, okay, but this is what I need you to check. Where she always is looking for, well, I did this, I did this, I did that, and you a man child, and you a baby, and you're not bringing anything to the table. So
Well, and I think that's putting Mark back in the same situations with previous women.
yes,
So here he is, even though the scenario looks different on the outside, he's still responding where he has to reaffirm these women that he's with. And he's giving in a different way, right? Maybe it's
Yep.
not physically giving and doing all these things, but now emotionally, I feel like this is a bigger toll for him because now he has to affirm her, who she is, and see her. And again, he's losing out on something. So it's
Right.
like him trying to fight for it without saying, you know what, I don't know what Lindsay I'm going to get, so I'm just going to give up and give in to whatever she wants. So
and then she ends up taking him to a batting cage, and he plays baseball. Yay.
and go karts
And go karts, yes.
like you
So
would take
they-
your 10-year-old.
Right. Uh,
Here we go.
all we need is the Chuck E. Cheese, right? That's about all we're missing. But let me ask this: do you think that Mark feeds into that by being excited by going go karting and batting cage?
I don't think that's an issue per se because you can always I feel like as you grow up, you should still keep some of your childlike qualities. So it's not like he's constantly. I feel like if he was constantly go karting,
Right.
it's an everyday occurrence, I'd be like, pause, you're still a grown man. But every once in a while, I feel like he wouldn't have probably because he to me seems like a guy who just doesn't do a lot of childlike things in general. So I feel like it's understandable for him to be excited about that because I haven't done this in a while. This is something to let me loose type of thing.
But do you think
So
because of how she's
I
treating
think because how
him?
she views him, that's her thing of like she's putting that perception on him.
Mhm.
But I don't think, and like I really can't blame him for like playing into that perception at that particular day. Because again, if I haven't been there in a while and that's
Right.
something that I like to do,
Right.
I'm gonna be excited about. But I think it does kind of say how she views him of like I'm gonna take my kid to, I'm gonna take him to have his day of fun
Right.
instead. Because like I feel like in a good relationship, it's like, okay, what are you interested in?
Right.
I
Mhm.
want to be as interested in this thing as you are, not because I particularly like it, but because
Right.
I like seeing you have joy and have fun.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's them. All right, and then now the couple that we had high hopes for, but
Hopes.
Olajuwon and Katina.
One.
All right, so
Yeah.
we pick up with them. They had an argument the night before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at least he ain't lock her out of the house like old boy did last season, right?
Right.
But you know them cameras are still rolling at 3 o'clock in the morning in all of their black and white glory, and you see them get into a fight, basically about what we find out later is about cleaning up after the
Housewarming.
housewarming, right? And so he's picking up, asking her what her definition is of a wife. Mistake. Let's start there. That's a mistake there because he's automatically, in my opinion, equating a wife has to do X, Y, and Z, cook, clean, and other stuff in order to be a wife. And so when she's answering it, she's coming from, her desire to do. She talks about his desire of how he wants her to cook and other wifely duties, right? So he's starting off the conversation, in my opinion, from a wrong place.
Yeah, because he puts the onus on her. Because like I feel like that's a loaded question because you
Mm-hmm.
could already tell that because he already has his own definition. It's like, so you're expecting me either to give you the right answer that's exactly this, or I'm gonna be wrong automatically. And
Right.
so instead of because he could have been like, well, we just have communication issues on this. This is what I expect from my wife.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different way to start a conversation than what? Because like I feel like that when I would get in trouble, what do you think you should be doing right now? That's the question I would get when I get in trouble. So that's kind of how he worded it.
Is that what we use with you?
Maybe one day. I just remember it was like, what do you think you, especially if I was somewhere where I wasn't, if I wasn't doing the dishes, what do you think you should be doing right now? Because I'd be watching TV. So I'm already, if I say watching TV, I'm wrong because you already got your own answer. That's how he approached it with her, is like,
Yeah.
you're already doing something wrong. So he's trying to catch her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like this. Okay, so they were drinking, right? And they were having their little home warming. So after a while, you're tired. So he's asking her to clean up, just like we would do. Okay, babe, I'll do my part tomorrow. I'll go ahead.
Mhm.
I'll sweep tomorrow. I'm really tired. We've been drinking. They were taking shots, eating, having a good time. He's
Mhm.
like, well, because he tells her to go to bed. He's like, you know what? Just go to bed at one point. So she's like, I'm going to bed. Bye. I see you in the
Mhm.
morning. So then
Mhm.
you mad when you told me, go ahead and just go to bed. I'll take care of it. When
Right.
you're talking about like, this is us together. This is being, no, dude. You mad because I'm not doing what you want me to do.
Right.
But if they could communicate, and she's like, well, babe, you just clean the counters in the morning. I'll go ahead and sweep the floor. I'll take care of the table, whatever. As long as the food's put up, I'll handle my part in the morning. It was just like, I'm not having it. Because what was she saying about half
She
the floor?
said, I do understand because I'm going to clean half the floor tonight. What does that mean? Why are we splitting the floor? I said, take a chore, you get a chore. That's different. So that was just a dumb suggestion in the first place.
If somebody does the floor off and the other person do the dishes or turn the dish, right, split that up that way. But I'm concerned because Olajuwon, I think he's been watching too much Nick at Night, and I think he wants
Cleaver.
He wants June Cleaver as a wife because even Claire didn't do all the cooking and cleaning.
Hold on, she didn't cook.
Claire didn't do it for the Huxtables. Harriet for the Winslows and what was that show? Family Matters. She was out running up and down elevators, and she didn't do all of that. Gina definitely didn't do that for Martin. So I don't
Gina
know where
didn't
he's
cook.
getting
She couldn't
right.
cook.
Gina couldn't cook, right?
Right.
So I don't know where he's got this idea of a wife that doesn't match up with I think current reality and what I think you would look for as far as 'cause can we just be honest? Okay, there we go. That's the word. He wants a Stepford wife. He
Mm.
wants he want he wants old girl from Coming to America. Whatever you like. Exactly. That's what he
Coming to
wants.
America too, she was still barking.
She
She
was still
was.
barking. That's right. She was still barking to Coming to America too. So that's what his opinion is of a wife, and so because there's some other comments that he made later on where he was like, you know, when she asked, "Do you think that we're falling in love?" The question from the homework, and she's like, "There's potential," and he's like, "No, we're not there. You know, love's not on the table. Standards have to be met."
But he put her in a corner with that one because he said he kept pressing her. Oh, you like me. Oh, you love me. So you're falling in love, right? So he kept asking, teasing her, and then when she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna ask you back. I'm gonna tease you." I don't use that word. So you're making me say that I have feelings for you, making me
Hmm.
feel vulnerable, and then you're gonna be like, "But I don't feel that way." I was like, "That's rude to put me like that in a position for me to get in trouble, or not in trouble, but for me to feel vulnerable and then not
Mhm.
Right.
express that vulnerability back."
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's right,
Ex-
Michelle. He wants her to cook from scratch. Listen, just because your great grandma cooked biscuits from scratch, listen, you better run to the grocery store, get you them Pillsbury rolls, and pop
It's
them
your
that can open.
But I'm thinking, like, doesn't she work? Like, so you're explaining to your buddies, I'm gonna have to catch the train and I'm gonna have to get the bus and I gotta get home and after all that time I want my meal. But I'm like, she has to work 8 hours. She works. And
Hmm.
so no matter how tired she is, I'm still supposed to like get out flour and baking soda and like do all these fresh vegetables and like pull from the garden and come up with this Italian meal or whatever. I'm like, who?
You're gonna starve. You know how to cook. You got two hands.
And he's been
Right.
cooking. Like, I mean, I'm just like, I'm so confused. I don't know where I don't know where he getting this from. Because whatever
Yeah.
he created in his head, he need to get out of his head.
But here's the other thing with that is for him to make the statement that she's got to meet his standards, then can we let's kind of take that a little further because at some point she may not come up to his standards because if she as they get older and they have kids, he may have a standard as far as her weight and now she doesn't meet those standards. She may, she may come into a change her hair. So therefore, that doesn't meet his standard. So he has a love that is based upon standards and not based upon who she is. And a love that's based on standards is not really love, if we're honest. Because and I'm not saying that you have to accept anything that comes at you, but if your love is tied to someone coming up to your expectation of how they cook, how they clean, how they do this, you might be missing out on something.
Well, my thing is this. I'll mention my standards. I was like, I do have a standards for what I want out of my husband. And I was like, since we're gonna be talking about standards, let's get the board out. Let's start writing what my standards are. Because I'm gonna write out specifically what my standards are. And you tell me if you can write out what wife means. Because as a husband, I want you to treat me right. I want you
Hmm.
not to verbally abuse me. I don't want you to belittle me. Because at one point he was like, you're not a good human. I'm like, what standards are you talking about for who?
Right, right,
Did your mother do all these things? Does your mother cook for you and all these things now? And I understand that he feels like he's accomplished something, right? He said, well, I bought my house. I paid off my student loans. And I'm like, okay, that's wonderful
Round of
things.
applause.
Hey, great for you. Maybe I didn't have whatever. But
hmm,
now that we're coming together, what about the things I am doing? It's like, and then like at a point she was crying.
right.
I was just like, and you're not even recognizing it. Like he's not recognizing, like, I'm sorry, I'm going too far.
Right. because he starts to essentially question her as a woman.
Right.
First, it was as a wife. Then he's like, are you enough woman for me as a wife? I need to see where you are as a woman, dude. That's that's
You're the
a
last
whole
person
other thing that you don't want
defining
to go
what a
there.
woman is.
Right.
You are not a woman. You are the last person to be defining what that means to me.
Right.
So
I'm like, you need to back up. Because at that point, after my meal, I was like, you need to back up because
Yeah.
you've gone too far. Because like the idea of us cooking together, I thought like, oh, that's a cool idea. We can cook
Right.
together. Some of the things that we can learn off of that, you know. But at the same time, when we get to this point and you're still all this pressure, what I'm supposed to do for you, but I'm not hearing that it's balanced. I'm just gonna, you know what? Not, I wouldn't say I was just done. I was like, unmic me.
Yeah.
I think you should have picked a different show, because for you to be married at first sight, you got to be somewhat open to who you're gonna get.
Right.
Because it's not like you can have your preferences all day. You need to find someone who fits those preferences. There will sure be a woman who wants to clean and cook for him and do all the things instead of delegating, because he was mad at her for, instead of going outside of the house, she just had her friends pick stuff up. So I said,
Right.
you're just mad that she's not showing that she's working, but she still did the work. Like, she still put together the housewarming party. She just delegated it to everyone else. So if you wanted that, you should have gone and found that yourself and found somebody who's going to listen to you and do what you want on the drop of a dime. You're not going to get that when you marry anybody.
Right. Especially when
Now-
you come out the site.
Now, here's the other thing that when we didn't talk about this because this came out last week. So last week we found out that Olajuwon has never dated a black woman before.
Oh, that's I should have knew that. That's the problem. That's all the information I needed.
But that's not all. But we can't put that's all white women.
No, we can't.
No.
Hater men.
No, but there's a very specific type of black man who they're the ones who are like, I can't date black women. They're the ones who have an issue, because the reason why they can't date black women is they're too loud, they're too controlling, they're too assertive and blah blah blah, and independent. And so that's his issue, is because he has a view of womanhood in general, and because black women have historically had to be more resilient and had to step up for people, he's just not going to get that. So he may need to go step out of his other race if that's what he's looking for. Or again, find another black woman who is willing to do all of those things and have that traditional household.
Right, because we find out that he's half Irish, half Puerto Rican, Dominican, black, something, I don't know.
I think
Okay, so it's possible that he saw his mother respond that way to his father, but the other thing is once again, the other issue that comes up with that is that this was not an issue for him in any of the previous, when they were trying to find who he was going to be matched with. This was not something he brought up and said, this is something I want. This is something that after he was selected and after he got married, that he's like, okay, this is what I want as far as my standard for a wife. So he even has a shifting standard from the time that they were trying to get him matched to now that he's operating with Katina.
He may have been playing a game to be like, this is what I'm going to say I want, but this is what I really want. Because he may understand socially that that's not what womanhood means anymore. That's not what being a wife means anymore. So he may have been like, I'm gonna give them the answers that they want to hear, and then, but secretly, these are the things, because now you got the title of wife. This is what this means to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be married. It seems like he wants somebody to do his chores for him, honestly. That's why he wants to be married. So he said, well, however I can get that maid in here, I'm going to do it.
Everybody can get that maid in here for free.
He said, however I got to finesse this, I'm going to get to it. So I'm going to put that ring on my finger.
Okay. All right. So then there was a time where all the guys were hanging out and they were doing archery, and Mark was looking like Robin Hood up in there. He was just, him and Steve were like, look, we're gonna take out these two brothers. We're gonna take them out.
He's on it.
Yeah. And then on the other side of town we had the girls hanging out. And I just found it funny. Katina and Jasmina kind of meet up first. And, Katina was like, yeah, I talk to Noe every now and then, but I don't rock with Lindsay that way.
You gotta do what you
So,
gotta do, right?
hey,
You gotta keep it in the mix. But they seem to at least be able to carry the conversation beyond them and
right.
talk about where they are with their husbands, right? And that was the
Hmm.
important part
Yeah.
of them trying to they understand each other's journey, even though when they don't understand each other.
Hmm.
So I found it interesting. Like everyone goes through the same thing when you're starting this journey. Like I never met him before. We're going through all these things and all these challenges. So
Yeah.
it seemed like they were enjoying themselves.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for this recap and review. Next week looks to be very interesting.
Yeah, some people don't get wet. Woo!
Yeah. So,
That's an insult.
That's not my problem.
nope.
Not to her. Don't say nothing about her.
All right, that's it. I want to
Your dad's
thank
like,
our
okay, I'm in this. My daughter's on here.
right. We'll have this conversation without my daughter. All right, but I appreciate Creasy. I appreciate you hanging out with us, taking care of your mom while she's visiting you.
I'm
And
taking care of her.
same thing.
She said she
Y'all
wasn't
take care of each other.
So
Yeah, we talk about being resources. Like she grown now. Telling her like some kids need to be strong to be able to kill insects. Somebody don't want to kill insects. That's not
All
what
right.
I'm here for.
So listen, that's enough. That's it for this video for I was about to say my other show. This video for Married at First Sight. We will see you all next time. Have a great one. Be blessed. We'll talk to you later.